So I got to wear the fancy bracelet. I don't know if you can see it, but I got to wear it until my birthday on Saturday.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, well, they said it lasts 3 to 4 days, so, and if I have to go into emergency or whatever, that way they don't give me additional, I guess. I don't.
You get the VIP access. Sounds like.
Hey, I got a wristband.
Yeah. The champagne room.
Free service. Don't charge me triple for being here.
You paid ahead.
Yeah. Well, not me, but
Welcome to Skol Chat. We are a group created by 4 guys for the love of the game, specifically for our favorite team, the Minnesota Vikings. We are 4 fans who get together to discuss all aspects of the team. We have room to add a couple of you at a time during our airings and would like you to join us in our chat. Although the game may only last a season, the desire for the game and the team is year-long. Please hit the subscribe button, follow us on YouTube, and give us either a thumbs up or a thumbs down, depending on your experience, and leave us a comment. If you'd like to join us during the show, contact us at the email link provided below.
49.
Yeah, can you imagine we've done this 49 times? Well, we've done it 49 times. Tom's done it 47.
There's more to come to be missed. Come fire. It's only 9 o'clock. Stays light out till 9 o'clock during the summer, so you gotta get.
Well, welcome to Skol Chat 49. Last week we reviewed or took a look at the offensive depth chart before training camp. This week we're going to take a look at the defensive side of the ball along with the special teams. We'll kind of discuss if there's any rookies on the roster that might actually play in their first year, and we'll go over a couple other talking points. We also have Viking story time. I might have to wait until the season starts because the memes are few and far between, so I can't find any good ones anymore. So we're just going to have Viking story time for a bit. But before we dig into that, if you like what you see, you like what you hear, like, subscribe, comment, hit the things and do the stuff. Let me get the thing on there. There we go. All right. So if I say the name Les Steckel, do you have any memories of that, Dad, or can you?
Nightmare. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's probably one of the worst coaches probably in Vikings history. So
any team history, I tell you, that guy was a piece of art. I'll tell you,
Yeah. So in 1984, Bud Grant, after 17 years, decided to retire. And he was at the time the winningest, and still is the winningest head coach in terms of wins and winning percentage. And looking for a new head coach instead of hiring Jerry Burns or any of the other assistants that had been with the Vikings since the 60s. Jerry Burns has been with the team since 68 and hired as the Vikings head coach in 1986. Instead of hiring him, they went ahead with one of the assistants, Les Steckel, who was at the time the youngest head coach in the league when he was promoted at only 38. But he had a background in the military and boxing, and he was strictly religious. But two of those three things were the reason that kind of for his downfall or why he didn't work coach, because he brought his military background to the football team. So you know how training camp, when you enter training camp, it's supposed to be kind of like the first couple of days are kind of just getting into the groove of things. It's not like heavy workouts, not full pads or anything like that. But Les Steckel decided on the first day of training camp that he was going to have an Ironman drill. And so what he did was he set up 8 events, and all the players had to go through this grueling Ironman workout that most people in the military couldn't even finish. And so he thought he was going to build character, and they're going to be the most conditioned team, and they're going to be the strongest team throughout the season. But players didn't really like it, obviously. And not only that, Bud Grant always treated the veterans with respect and let them manage the team. Well, this Les Steckel decided that he was going to be the guy who made all the decisions. Nobody could give him any input. So he kind of treated the team, veterans. A lot of players were still from their Super Bowl era, were still on the team. And so they hated that. They rebelled. He finished 3-13 because, after trying his way and the team gave up. They just didn't want to play for him anymore. So I think he actually it says he was 3-13, but from what I saw, he only won 1 game. So I'm not sure, was he fired before the end of the season and they ended up winning 2 more games?
I can't remember exactly how I think he did get fired toward the end there because memory, now don't hold me to it, but it seems to me that the players were boycotting. They said they wouldn't play anymore.
Which,
And,
yeah, that's a picture of him. Yeah, and that's from what I could see. That's because I found an old article from 1984 from the New York Times, and it was the New York Times. If they're reporting it back in the 80s about something in Minnesota, then and it was kind of a big deal.
yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, he only lasted, and like I said, like I couldn't find much more, but just because it wasn't much context to it, but they said his only win was against Atlanta, and they had to win by a Statue of Liberty play in the last seconds of the game. But anyway, so he was fired after finishing 3-13. It was so bad they had to bring Bud Grant back for the 1985 season, and then he kind of righted the ship, got the team back on. They didn't finish, I don't think, with a winning record that year, but then in '86 they finally hired Jerry Burns as a head coach. And this is just a picture of training camp back in the day at Mankato State, back when it was Mankato State, Minnesota State. But yeah, so definitely the worst coach in the Vikings history. And there's players, coaches, and there's Les Steckel. So
Yeah.
and it's funny how they go, like, Bud Grant was a player's coach, and it's funny how they've done that throughout their history. They go from a player's coach to a hard-nosed coach to a player's coach because they went, Denny Green was the head coach, after, well, who was the head coach before Denny Green? Well, that was Jerry Burns.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Jerry Burns was until 91, and then Denny Green was hired in 92, and then Denny Green got fired, Mike Tice stepped in. So Tice was a player's coach too, but Denny Green was called himself the sheriff. And then Tice came in, Leslie Frazier was there, and then they brought in Brad Childress. Or no, it was Childress, which was a hard-nosed guy. Then Leslie Frazier was a player's coach, and then they brought in Zimmer, who was a hard-nosed guy. And now we have the player's coach again with KOC. So it's just funny how that kind of ebbs and flows.
Going back to Childress, I didn't know it. I thought he's retired now, but before he retired, he was on Andy Reid's staff there in Kansas City, and I thought that's where he lives, but I guess he lives in the cities.
Really? That's weird.
Yeah.
Well, you know what happens with the players too. Like they come here, they're not married. All of a sudden, they meet somebody, they get married, and they stick around. That's what happened to Ben Lieber, and did Tommy Kramer, John Randall's still in the cities.
Yeah.
So
that's what I'm saying. Even look at the Purple People Eater. He was State Supreme Court.
Yeah, Carl Eller. Or Ellen Page.
Ellen Page. So, a lot of the players, once they came up here, and it's surprising that, a lot of them from the South, like Randall, he's from Texas, and some of the other players from the South, they move up here, come here to play, and being here for 10 years, and I guess, being married or get married and planting roots and, don't
I think
move.
Is Alex Boone, is he still in the area, or is Jeremiah Searles still in the area?
No, Searles is back in Nebraska, but
Okay.
Boone is still in Minnesota. In fact, got a workout gym for players that,
that's right. The offensive linemen kind of go there.
Yeah.
It's not the ETS, is it, with Adam Thielen, CJ Ham, and Marcus Sherrills? It must be a different gym.
I hear them talking about it, teaching O-linemen, different technique and whatever they're working out. And so, a lot of players just before training camp and that, they'll go there and work out for a week or whatever, after their vacation or whatever, and to get themselves back in condition.
So I guess we can move on. And before we kind of talk about the rosters, kind of set the table and kind of talk how they finished the defense. So last year the Vikings finished third in overall defense, second against the pass, and seventh in points allowed. And they would have done better in points allowed if they didn't have the Chargers game. And then there's that Packers game where they only scored, 6 points, and then the 20, or what was it, the Bro Show?
Yeah.
Where they only scored, they didn't score at all, right? So it's 26-0 or something like that. At any rate, so the defense would have been better if they didn't have those performances. And then just kind of going back to the draft, we kind of were disappointed the way the draft turned out, with the drafting of Caleb Banks. And it was even more so questioning, all of a sudden they drafted Dominic Orange, in the first 3 picks. They drafted Caleb Banks and Dominic Orange. So I'm still questioning the roster structure. Who's playing where? because no matter like where you look at like different depth charts, like on different pages, like our lads, or look on ESPN, which ESPN still has Scooby Williams on the depth chart, and he never was actually officially signed. Failed the physical. So at any rate, like nobody knows where these guys are going to play, and you're going to see that when I put it on the screen here. But I think, yeah, we're just going to have to fight through it and see like what do we think. But I think what we'll do is we'll talk about the position groups, right? We'll talk about defensive line, then we'll talk about linebackers, and we'll talk about the secondary. Instead of last time, what I did was just read through the whole roster, which is kind of boring to listen to me talk. I talk enough. I'm going to put it on the stage here, and we'll just go through the defensive line here. So we have Caleb Banks as the first team, penciled in at defensive end. We have Elijah Williams, second team. Third team, we have a Smith Vilbert, and it's not Vilbert Smith. It is actually Smith Vilbert. I double checked that. It's kind of a backwards name. Then we have Levi Drake Rodriguez, Dominic Orange, Taki Taimani, Jalen Redmond, Isaiah Loudermilk, Eric Johnson, and Javari Ritzy. So for the defensive line, and it's kind of like last year we tried to do something different where we signed the big free agent names for the defensive line, but we don't have, I guess, other than Caleb Banks. That was the big swing, right?
Yeah.
And supposedly he's going to be ready for training camp.
Yeah, they say by the 26th
of July or August.
July.
Okay, so say yeah, because August 1st is training camp.
Yeah, they're saying he's going to be ready for it. We'll see.
So yeah, so I mean,
All that bone has healed, or has he been doing any? I'm sure he's done physical therapy, but other than that, I haven't heard he's done any conditioning with the team.
And I'm sure they have. I'm sure the medical staff is watching him, and allegedly the Vikings have one of the best medical staffs in the league.
Really?
Yeah, in the world.
In the world.
Wow.
Remember when they had like all their players were tearing their pec muscles not too long ago? But that hasn't happened in recent years, so they must have figured that out. Yeah, so other than Jalen Redmond, there's not really a proven player. I mean, Jalen Redmond had 6 sacks last year, and I think he played more nose tackle, not at D end. But they have penciled in at D end here.
Well, I don't think he might be classified as that because he can rush from the end. But, it seems to me that some of the plays I recall, Redmond being there and Rodriguez would be like the nose guard in there. And that's, help Redmond get into the backfield. But some of the speculation is that Orange won't be playing every down, but he'll be at least the first 2 downs there taking up, blocks. And so here you got Banks or you got Redmond or whoever opposite of him or, next to him. And then, of course, Brian Flores throws everybody up there. You don't know who's going to do what, so it's hard to tell.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, I think we should vote on it. Dominic Orange, should we call him Big Slice? Should be his nickname?
Actually, I'd say calling him Big Orange or whatever.
Big Orange, yeah. Call him Big Slice, like Orange Slice. Yeah, I think that's a good. That's a good nickname for him. I think we should start doing that. We'll make it a thing.
Okay, put Big Slice in there to take up 2 O linemen. Yeah, so that way somebody else on the line can get in the backfield or bring the pressure from the middle or the edge. Yeah, whatever works. Yeah.
So you think by regular season, Dominic Orange is going to be the starter?
I do.
Ahead of Levi Drake Rodriguez?
Depends how he does. It's hard to tell because I haven't really seen him doing anything. It'd be different if I could watch the college tape and see how he plays and whatever and try to picture him in Flores D,
I think Bursuch actually did a thing on him not too long ago.
Yeah, I haven't. Well, I saw part of that. Yeah, he was talking about how he takes up the middle, so.
Yeah.
And Thor really talks about him, 2 guys, they can't move, he's so big. Then also he's fast, so, but anyways, it's going to be a toss-up between him and Rodriguez. I know they like Rodriguez, it's hard telling,
Yeah, it's hard telling until they get him in training camp and decide ultimately who's better. But obviously where they picked him in the draft, I'm pretty sure they're counting on using him.
Yeah. But then again, Flores likes to rotate his linemen, so
Well, and that's just it too. Like a lot of times these linemen they're used to kind of be space eaters, and then it's the outside linebackers or middle linebackers or even the secondary, like, corners or safeties that are blitzing. So he's using these guys, and that's what was Hargraves and Allen's complaint, was that they weren't able to actually rush the passer or do what they wanted to do. They were just kind of space eaters. But
yeah.
yeah, no. Levi Drake Rodriguez. I didn't know he's 6'2", 307. So I mean, he's bigger than I thought. But I mean, what was
Well,
it? Is Dominique Orange? Isn't he like 340 or something like that?
well, he's big. Yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah, it'll
But
be
see,
interesting to
what they
see.
talk about Rodriguez is that he's got a motor. He's constantly going, but, they really like him. So I don't know. I think there's going to be a rotation between the two of them.
Yeah, and like we've said already, like they rotates him quite a bit. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So then we're moving on to linebackers. We have Dallas Turner, obviously one of the starters. He had 11 and a half sacks last year, I think, something like around that number. Then we have Tyrion Ingram Dawkins, who is moving to linebacker, who was on the defensive line last year. Sounds like he slimmed down to kind of play the role. They have him inked in front of Tyler Batty, which I wonder about that. Then they have Cameron Stewart. And then in the middle, we have Eric Wilson and Blake Cashman at the middle linebackers, and backups Ivan Pace Jr. And this depth chart here listed Jake Golday as an inside linebacker. I kind of doubt that. He's got to be an outside linebacker.
Well, the thing is, the talk, and I heard that for, what's his name again, the rookie, the Golday?
Yeah, Jake Golday, yeah.
The talk is that because of his physical talent and everything, was the teaching and whatever, he could eventually be another Van Ginkel. So, but they're saying that the belief is that they're going to start him out as a middle linebacker and have him,
And they could.
learn from there to go out and, because, middle linebackers, they do cover in space. Well, this kid got the speed and everything. He can do all the twists and move and, side to side, whatever you want to call it. And then also, be out there watching Hank Ginko, see, how he does things or whatever, So I don't know. I'm thinking that's, the good possibility. But, what do they do? Do they pull Cashman out to do that, or Wilson's out?
Yeah, I'll be surprised if he plays in the middle. They want him more in space on the outside. So I bet you if he does anything, he's going to be taking in, like,
Blitzer?
rotating with Turner or Van Ginkel just to give him breathers.
Yeah.
But we'll have to wait and see. Maybe they kind of see something, and that's kind of like, and we'll talk about that in a little bit when we get to the secondary. But that's what, I mean, Brian Flores, and I kind of will talk about it too maybe I'll save it for the end. So when we're kind of doing a review of the roster, we'll do that.
Okay.
But yeah, so just finishing out, they have Jacob Roberts, was a free agent pickup. I don't remember. I didn't even see any reports that he was signed. So I don't even, or if I did, we probably talked about it. I completely forgot about it because he's just another guy at this point. And then there's Josh Ross and outside linebacker on the other side from Dallas Turner's Andrew Van Ginkel. Then Bo Richter, Chaz Chambly, and Arden Walker. So still got a Chaz on the team, which is good. But then, yeah, the Ginkmeister. So I think Andrew Van Ginkel and Dallas Turner are going to get, make a lot of splash plays for the splash plays for the team. And if anything, they're going to be kind of like the stars of the defense.
Yeah.
And there's really not much. I mean, it's one solid, I guess its secondary is pretty solid aside from one missing piece, but we'll get to that. Any other thoughts on the linebacker depth chart?
What's going to end up happening is when they do the roster cut down, how many are they going to actually keep, on the roster? Well, Turner and Van Ginkel and Cashman and Wilson and probably the rookie. How many are they going to have? So that's another thing,
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's got to be something to think about, but and we're not there yet. I think we'll talk about that as we get closer to the season, like who they're going to keep. But what was it last year?
Yeah, we went
I
through
guess.
the roster and
Yeah, I was just seeing if I could see how many they kept last year real quick, but I can't find a depth chart. So we'll just move on. But yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, it's gonna be interesting what they keep or how many they keep. I mean, because I mean, the outside and inside, I mean, it's almost like two different positions, even though they're called linebackers. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how Tyrion Ingram Dawkins does, having moved to a different position. I think he realized it was. I don't know if they asked him to move or if he decided to move himself. I'm assuming they asked him to. Did you hear anything about that or how the move happened? Or
I have not.
Not really. All I know is that, he slimmed down in that and they were trying to use him as a edge, so outside linebacker, using him and, for that, then also have play as an edge too. They tried that last year, but I don't know. I know that he slimmed down, put on muscles and whatever. So.
it's kind of hard to do both at the same time.
Well, the thing is, too, I guess, if I remember right, he's got pretty long wingspan. I think like 78 inches or something I heard somewhere, or somebody had that anyways. So I think he was one of them that got long arms.
Well, yeah, it's just gonna be interesting because at one point, I mean, he was at 290 pounds, and I mean, defensive ends in the 3-4 are about 260, 280, and then linebackers have got to be closer to the 260, 250 mark.
Yeah.
You don't want to. I mean, because you're moving in space as an outside linebacker. Be interesting to see how he performs. But let's move on to the secondary. We have again, these are the Pendleton starters, but of course it's a 3-4, but they have a nickel on here. I'm not sure who will be the starters for corners, but they have James Pierre, the free agent from the Steelers, Charles Demings, who I've heard some good things about, Zamiah Vaughn, Davion Armstead. Then at safety, got Josh Metellus, Jacoby Thomas, the rookie, and then Jacob Thomas. So we have a Jacoby and a Jacob Thomas. Jay Ward is the free safety, Theo Jackson, Tavier Thomas. Then right corner, Isaiah Rogers, Dwight McLeathern, Marcus Allen. I don't think he's the famous Raider or Kansas City Chief. I think he's just another guy. Then nickelback, we got Byron Murphy Jr., Khalif Halasi, and then Tyreek Chappelle. So, and yeah, we talked about, there's no Harrison Smith on the roster.
Right.
We'll see what happens by mid-season if he hasn't joined the team. If it's after the 8th game, if he doesn't join the team, he's not going to. Like I said, I don't know if James Pierre is going to be a starter. In Pittsburgh, he wasn't. He was always like a backup player, so a role player. So we'll see if he does start in place of Murphy or Isaiah Rogers if they only have 2 corners on the field. But again, in today's game, you're usually running with 3 anyways.
Well, it's either 3 corners or 3 safeties,
Yeah. There's hopefully Metellus is healthy again, because I heard he battled a bunch of injuries last year, so he wasn't really himself last year. And they Flores likes to move him around, play him at linebacker and corner, and so we'll see. But I'm kind of excited to see what Jacoby Thomas does, because he might.
Here.
And again, I don't think too many rookies play on offense. Maybe a little more on the defensive side. He might beat out Jay Ward or Theo Jackson for the other safety spot. Opposite of Josh Metellus. He's another one that Pete Burcich. Yeah, he did a little video on him recently, kind of saying the pros. He always talks about the positives. He never talks about negatives. Of course, it's the Viking Entertainment Network or whatever it's called. So it'd be nice if he said, "Oh, he's got to watch this or improve at this." At least say it that way instead of saying he's not good at this stuff.
Well, there've been times in the past that what he had done was videos on different players. Well, this is what they're good at, but this is something they need to work on.
Yeah, I remember him doing that plenty before.
Yeah, so maybe he'll come back around and do that again,
But I think pretty much in this season he does a lot of that, once or he's like bringing up a prior game or whatever and saying, you had this here or he missed this here or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think there's a lot of people got to step up this year in the secondary, especially at the safety position. But it's just interesting. I mean, it's the first year I think they haven't. I mean, other than James Pierre, he's been in the league 7 years. But in previous years, they've had like a guy that's at the tail end of his career. That's like his last year or two before he retires. So they didn't do that this year, which I think hopefully is a good sign. But that just means these younger guys have to step up and fill a role.
Yeah.
If not contribute on, or be down, but at least play special teams, which some of them are going to have to, right?
Right.
But yeah, overall, kind of like what I said, I mean, there's not really a star player on the roster. Brian Flores likes to have guys that can do a lot of things, not, good and not just one really great thing. So hopefully, things go like they did last year and they're productive and they're one of the better defenses in the league. Though, like I said, I'm kind of worried about the defensive line, and there's not proven depth beyond Dallas Turner and Van Ginkel on the outside. So, and Van Ginkel only played 10 games last year. So we need somebody needs to contribute and give them both a breather if they need one, or if they miss games. So that's what I'm worried about. And there's still talk about the Vikings adding an outside rush. I heard just today there's still talk trading the third round pick for Keith, or what's his name? Thibodeau from the Giants.
Really?
It sounds familiar.
Well, yeah, I just heard it. Like they've been talking. I guess they were talking, or it's been out there, and like obviously the Viking fan site since back in June. But he's only 25. Yeah, Kayvon Thibodeau. He's only 25. Had 11 and a half sacks in 23. Only 5.5 in 24, and only 2.5 last year. But they picked up his 5th-year option for this season. The Giants did. So if they were going to move him, I'm assuming they would have traded him before they picked up his option, because that's going to be for $14.71 million this year.
Yeah, you'd think so.
So the Vikings would have to trade for him, their 3rd-round pick, and then also take on that salary cap, which I'm not sure if they have enough. They might even get like there's a ton of veterans that are still out there, so they might wait like they did with Carson Wentz last year and just wait till closer to training camp, or maybe that's what the older guys want to do, is come in closer to the beginning of the season. But like I said, I'm worried about the depth, and the secondary really hasn't been too bad of an issue, although the game against the Eagles last year, the secondary really got carved up by Jalen Hurts. Remember those 2 long touchdown passes?
Yeah.
And I think they had a really long touchdown pass against the Steelers too. But other than that, the finishing, what was it, 7th? Oh no, 2nd against the pass. I mean, that's still pretty good. So hopefully, I mean, Harrison Smith helped out a lot because he was a coach on the field, telling them where to line up and telling them what to look out for. But like I said, I still hope he comes back. To wait until it's closer to the season or mid-season. It'll be interesting to see if they do pick up a veteran pass rusher. Any other thoughts on the overall roster? Like I said, the roster construction is kind of weird because we don't know where some guys are actually going to end up playing. Like Golday or Dominique Orange, or is Levi Drake Rodriguez going to be the starter? Yeah, that type of stuff. So, and then, I mean, really, I have the special teams on here, but it's going to be Johnny Hecker punting, Will Riker. There's not even another camp kicker. A lot of times they bring in a camp kicker, and we don't have one on the roster right now. Then we have the long snapper, Andrew DePola, then holders, Johnny Hecker. And that's the question, like, Brett Thorson's the international player. He's on the roster, the 91st guy, because he's international. His issue, and you said they were working on it, it was his holding capability. But it's a stretch for they might even just put him on the practice squad if they can keep him. Some other team might give him a tryout, but I can't see him being Johnny Hecker, especially with them, signing him he signed a free agent contract. So the punt returner Miles Price, kick return Miles Price, and they have Ty Felton as the backup in both. And they have Deshaun Jones as the 3rd-team punt returner. And they didn't even have Damon Claiborne listed as a kick returner, but I put him on there because I can't imagine him not returning kicks.
Right. Yeah, because I know that in the earlier ones they were talking about how impressed they were with him. See.
Yeah, and I think although Miles Price did a good job, I just want to see him improve on his catching the punts and actually getting return yards instead of fair catching when he has 5 to 10 yards open in front of him.
Yeah, or when he gets a good one, doesn't get taken back by some idiotic penalty.
Fumble, what was it? Didn't he fumble like twice in one game?
Yeah, he did that too.
Yeah, really not much to talk about the special teams, but at least I want to have them listed. So the one question I have, and I kind of brought it up, is, and I'm covering Tom's face here, but I'll take it off.
That's all right.
Which rookies, and we kind of talked about, like, let's go away. It'll go away eventually. There we go. So we think Dominique Orange might even start, but he'll for sure get some snaps. Caleb Banks, hopefully he stays healthy. He's going to probably be a starter. He'd have to be a starter if you pick him where they picked him.
Yeah.
And then Golday, and then Jacoby Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Like I said, I think Jacoby Thomas might have a chance of starting, and Caleb Banks. So the one sleeper, though, I heard, have you seen on Ben Levers has a YouTube channel?
Yeah.
So he was talking, and that guy is it Thor too? Is he Thor?
Thor?
No. I think his name is Thor also, the guy that's on Ben Levers' channel.
Why?
He used to be on
might be.
I'm gonna look at it again, I think. But he used to be like back a few years ago. He was on the Viking Entertainment Network. Cy, his name's Cy, I think. Never mind, it's Cy. Anyways, sorry. But they were talking about Charles Demings and how he was like in the top 1% in the last 2,000 corners as far as the RAS, which is real athletic score based on his testing at the combine. So they're saying he is actually a pretty good athlete, and they think he might be a contributor too.
Right.
So, but yeah, for Ben Lieber to do an entire video, which his videos are only 9 to 10 minutes long, so it's not like they're that in depth, but for him to pretty much talk about him the whole video, I thought, there's something to talk about there. All right, moving on. So let me take this off. There we go. So ESPN, and I kind of saved this for a couple of weeks, but they recently named James Pierre, the corner that the Vikings got from the Steelers, as the breakout player for the Vikings this year on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, for what they're going to pay him, he should be.
Well, everybody should. I mean, you're
Yeah.
making $1 million.
Yep.
2-year contract for 8.5.
Even a few $100,000.
Yeah, I'd play for a
8.5.
sandwich and a bag of chips.
Yeah.
I wouldn't take it that far.
Oh.
I'll watch it for that.
I'll watch it for free.
I'll coach for a Pepsi.
At
Yeah,
least a 12-pack. Come on.
We're going to stick you in the mascot suit.
Yeah.
I probably do a pretty good job
You wouldn't need the.
for the jumble.
It's going to be James Pierre's seventh or is his eighth? Has he played 7 years or is this his 7th year? At any rate, he's kind of like an older player, so we'll see if he actually does break out because he would have done it by now if he, on most defenses. But we'll see what Brian Flores has up his sleeve.
Said he's ranked what, second overall for the cornerbacks.
Well, on these depth charts, they have him starting, and then Byron Murphy Jr. is going to be the nickel guy, which that's what he's done his whole career. He's moved inside, and when they have 3 corners on the field, or again, if they use Metellus as a nickel and then move, who knows? They might rotate. I don't know. I don't know. This is a really weird year where you don't know who's going to play where.
Yep.
Yeah.
With that said, though, anyone have any breakout candidates that, we talked about, or I talked about how Gingster and then Dallas Turner will probably be the stars. Is there somebody that's actually going to make a name for themselves this year that you think's on the roster? Dallas Turner?
Yeah.
I think Caleb Banks gonna
Definitely not that guy.
whatever.
I hope he's healthy and he's motivated. That's what is knock on him. He's not healthy and he doesn't seem to be motivated. He should have been able to dominate, and which he did a lot of not all the time though. He needs to play all the time. So we'll see if he likes the game and wants to play the game, or if he just likes what the game can do for him. Right, the money and notoriety. That
I did see a video. He ran really fast as soon as somebody yelled free food.
Just remember, they call Dominic Orange Big Citrus. That's his name. that they call him.
Citrus.
Sorry about but I just remembered that word you're saying that. I'm like, that's what it was. Big
Citrus, big slice. Yeah. No, I think of Jacoby Thomas. If he gets to start, I think he'll make some plays. So I think he'll be a breakout player. That it? Anybody else? I think Golday can make some splash plays if he sees the field, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it's a early to tell. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, we should try to. It's kind of a big deal. Kind of a pain in the butt trying to make it to the training camp. I want to if I make it, I want to go to the night practice one. I think I'll buy tickets and it's night in the cities. I don't know. Don't know if it's worth it. So there was a Bleacher Report, Gary Davenport. He has a top 10 D list for the NFL. Before we look at that though, and we'll probably, I think in future episodes, we'll take next week off since I'll be out of town, but I think we just gotta do previews of each of the team heading up and, and talk about it during training camp and whatever talkers they have during training camp, but we should probably do team previews. But where do you think the Vikings are in the division as far as defenses? Do they have the best defense? What do you think?
I think it's going to be a mid-range pretty much.
Well, depending on how good the Lions defense is, I'm thinking the Vikings defense could even be better than the Lions.
Well, the Lions have been kind of bottom of the pack past couple of years, and they've dealt with a lot of injuries. Last year, Aiden Hutchinson, their big defensive end, or the big name defensive end, got injured. Both their safeties were injured at the end of the year.
Yeah,
and won't be playing till probably mid-season or 5th or 6th game. And then they had their backup corner kidnap some people.
Yeah.
So definitely the Bears defense played pretty sturdy, at least against the Vikings in the first game. And second game at the bank, the Vikings should have won that game, but you know what happened on that kickoff return. But yeah, no, I think they're definitely the best defense in the league,
I
even with
do.
Micah Parsons being healthy for the Packers. They still have some question marks. So
The thing is, one player does not make up the whole squad. Michael Pierce might be, the great whatever defensive player, but it's going to take,
The
a
entire
good
line.
portion. Yeah.
So I
Take
don't.
the entire line. Takes the entire line no matter what.
I mean, we've had
Everybody's
really
gotta
good
do their part.
defense, but then our offense sent the defense back out within minutes, and they were wiped.
yeah, that's what we
In-
saw, especially in the games when against the Ravens and against the Chargers, where those two teams just completely ran right up the gut against the
That's
Vikings.
where
So,
Big Slice going to come in.
big slice, big citrus. Well, going back to this Bleacher Report's Gary Davenport's top 10 Ds. So number one, you're going to see some former Vikings players talked about here in this article if you go look at it. But number one defense, he has Houston Texans. And who's on the Houston Texans?
Hunter.
Daniil Hunter, yeah. And that's part of the reason why they're rated so high. But then you have the Rams at number two because they did that Myles Garrett trade.
Yeah.
And they had some good rushers even before he joined the team. And then they're saying of Aaron Darnold, which they keep talking about, the Rams fans do, talking about Aaron Darnold coming back because he did kind of retire a bit early, but I doubt he's coming back. Then we have the Broncos, which they had a great defense when they had Peyton Manning on the team, but kind of built that back up, which it needs to be a good defense. I mean, they made it pretty far in the playoffs with what's his face, where they shouldn't really have made it that far. Then we got the Seahawks.
Yeah.
Don't really have much to talk about there. Then they have the Eagles at number 5. Who plays for the Eagles now?
Gennard.
Yeah, so he got traded there. Number 6, the Patriots, and their defense helped them get to the Super Bowl last year. And then with the Harbaugh and in Los Angeles Chargers are ranked number 7, and then the Vikings are number 8 in the league. And so it kind of talked about where they kind of finished in as far as rankings. And even though Grenard was traded, they still have Dallas Turner and Van Ginkel. And then they have Jalen Redmond, and then adding Caleb Banks, and they're talking about if he's healthy and is an impact player, they can really make some noise as far as getting after the quarterback. And then they kind of talk about Blake Cashman, Eric Wilson being not household names and not on everybody's radar, but they're valuable contributors and had over 115 tackles last year. Both of them did. So
Dan disappeared.
yeah, where'd he go? He must have got tired of me talking. He was waiting for his chance to interject. I don't know. Should we wait? I don't know. I'll just finish my sentence here. So, and then they're talking. He talked about how Blake Cashman and Eric Wilson, yeah, they're contributors and they're making the defense stronger. But he said the question that he has is the secondary. But they have Isaiah Rodgers and Byron Murphy back, and then Josh Metellus being able to move around in all of the formations and all over the field. So he says they're the best defense in the NFC, which gives them the edge over the rest of the teams in the conference, or in the division, I should say. That's one of the positives. So I've seen positives about the defense recently from these media people, and then the coordinators, even though our defensive coordinator is probably carrying a heavy load there because our offensive coordinator is not really even a coordinator, or not even a play caller. So yeah, I wonder what happened to the old man.
Yeah, I don't know. That was odd. Kind of just got out there.
Either like they lost power or somebody disconnected something. He hit something and just, checked out or whatever.
Yeah, I think that's the way it went off. Like lost power or like unplugged or something. Maybe one of the kids unplugged the computer on him.
Yep.
And that's all I have on the docket here. Anything else?
I didn't really have the docket this week myself either.
No, everything's just, rumors out there and, a lot of hype still on, Kyler Murray becoming the starting quarterback. And, I guess Chris Carter was kind of talking about, mentioned some things with him, saying he's really at the best spot he could be at. And he says something about putting the helmet on with the horns on there kind of changes, can change things for you. Do really good. So we'll see.
Yeah, no, I was excited last year, but for some reason I'm more excited this year. I had big hopes, but you know what happens when you believe too much in the
Yeah. But the thing is we've got the most talent in the quarterback room that we've had for a while. So, as far as having Wentz and Murray, as veterans there.
Well, definitely we have somebody who can win a game. If you need somebody to win a game, one of those 3 guys can.
Yeah.
Max Brosmer Not so much at this point.
No, well, and he started out and so hyped up so much during training
Yeah.
camp and everything last year. But, they had to give what reps they did to JJ, and at least during their regular training, but they didn't do it during preseason. So let's hope they don't,
Have to rely on him again.
well, yeah, and let's hope we don't have to, or they, give the quarterback a little more practice during preseason instead of letting him go out and throw a couple balls and then that's it for the entire preseason. So I know they didn't let JJ play last year. He wasn't ready. He was not ready, and they just, okay, we had him out there for a couple plays. We're good. He doesn't need to play anymore during preseason.
And after the fact, we know what happened. We knew they wanted Sam Darnold. They tried to offer him a contract, and then they wanted to keep Daniel Jones, but then Kwesi messed that up.
Yeah.
Until then, they're like, oh my god, and then they know we messed it up. So then they're like, oh gosh, we have JJ. We have these two. We have Max Brosmer and whatever. Like I can't remember. Was it?
What was the heck was that? Who in the heck was that quarterback?
He was the son of the Washington quarterback. Remember from the 90s? What was his name? At any rate, we're thinking of the same person, I think. But yeah, so they're sitting there like, oh shoot, and then they brought in Wentz at the end, and so they couldn't really play JJ because what if he got hurt in the preseason again? Then they ended up playing both Wentz and Brosmer anyways. But what happened there?
Well, it's been overload on the power.
You have to go flip the switch or what?
Oh, the power shut off then within a minute, came back on, but
it's probably because everybody's running their air conditioner and then they're decided to do their laundry and wash the dishes.
Well, it could be, they're good for, high temperatures, real cold snap, always knock out a substation.
Yeah, so we were just kind of finishing up to talking about the defense, or we were kind of got into a talk about being in a better position with the quarterback room right now. But yeah, so the Vikings have the best defense in the division and number 8 in the league. So we'll hope that proves to be the true, or even better. Hopefully they're even better and maybe these rookies will kind of come into their own like throughout the season and be making big plays.
Yeah, maybe they'll add some spark to the defense, Holy crap, where did that come from, type plays. Yeah.
Well, that's what we need. We haven't had one of those since we had Scotty Graham at running back in 1993.
Yeah.
And then he didn't play ever again. Right. I think he was on the roster in 94, but then I think that was it. Somebody's going to have to retard their anger.
Yeah.
You can hear them screaming back there. In a rage.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts on the defense or the quarterback room?
No, I think we got it covered.
Yep. Good.
I'm okay.
All right. Well, Skol Vikings.
Yeah.
We'll see you at episode 50 at the next dairy.
Yeah, in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, maybe?
Yep.
We'll see.
We'll
weeks. Talk about it behind the scenes. 2 weeks. Okay. All right. Are you making awkward eye contact? There we go.